Welcome everybody. Thanks for having me today. So our topic for the next roughly hour, and I will not bore you with a lot of slides. I will swap between various web pages and stuff like that. Our topic is going to be Microsoft certification, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And when I was asked to present a session, and what I wanted to talk about is finally I can really go and talk about the topic that I really love. So just a quick intro of myself, Rolf McLaughlin. I'm director of the Cloud 42, trainer for a good 25 years. Had the chance to be a so-called MCT regional lead, means that I'm one of the focal points where other trainers are talking to and where Microsoft Worldwide Learning is getting the information back and forth. So more like a speaker for the other trainers. I'm a cloud solution architect and author. I did write some books and articles. And I happen to have been a PowerShell MVP, worked for Microsoft a couple of years, based in Ireland, and my main topics are infrastructure in Azure, applications, Active Directory, stuff like that. So enough of myself. Let's go into topics and let's talk about what we are going to see in this session, and maybe also about what we are not going to see. Let's start with the bad bit. So what I've seen very often, and just to disappoint the one or the other in this call that may say, finally I'm getting some stuff where I can just get the questions and learn it by heart and pass the exam. No, that's not going to happen. What I also like to point out is if somebody sees some question like, dear community, I have this and this question, please solve it for me. This is not the right way to learn about certifications and learn about cloud technologies from Microsoft. So please stay away from this kind of questions. Very often you find some fishy or some phishing approach behind all that. What I also like to point you to is there are some websites that try to sell you the ultimate study guide. Please pay XYZ amount of money, and then we guarantee you that you will pass. I myself would shy away from this kind of offers. First of all, you're not sure what the source of this information is, and second of all, you may pay some money, but you may not know whether that's really worth the money. And I'm more on the side, sure, I'm a trainer, I have to say that, I'm more on the side of real studying, learning, and knowing the product, and then facing the challenge of getting a certification done. So I will point you to a lot of resources, websites from Microsoft and other ones that sometimes work for Microsoft, sometimes not. So I want to give you a little bit of a guidance. Where do I start? What is the right web page to take information from and stuff like that? And still, if I point you to these websites, there is a lot of stuff in there. So I want to point out also what is the right starting point. And last but not least, maybe I have a chance I have done nothing. How do I pass my first certification? I would like to be part in this journey for yours. And I would also want to point out there is at 3 o'clock another session about learning, pointing more to Microsoft Learn, or a special web page having a lot of information about the technology. You may want to see that session 2 if you're in the topic of certification and stuff like that. Having said that, let's try with a little bit of a definition, because what is good, what is bad and ugly, very often I find it is a very personal thing. Like, one person says, I have to study a lot to pass that certification. Now, lean back and try to reflect yourself. Is it a good thing or is it a bad thing? The one who are in a time constrained and are not really good in delivering under time pressure a certification quality, they may consider that bad. There may be another one who says, you know what? I like this. I like this a lot because they're really putting a lot of information into this certification bit, and I like certification at all. So in my personal perception, that is a good thing. So please, if you see a little bit of a flagging, this is considered good, this is considered bad, that's my personal opinion. And sometimes it's the opinions opinion of other fellow trainers that I asked before my before this session to reflect on what they think about the certification. And on top of that, I wanted to give it a little bit of a face, like whenever we see something, I want to have a special icon like, okay, this is good, definitely good, or this is bad. So when you go to your preferred finding machine, like a Google or a Bing, and you just type the good, the bad, and the ugly into there, you find this very, very quickly. And yeah, that's cool. That is, but yeah, very individual, very personal. You could go with a little bit of a comic style and take it away from these individual characters, but still, no, not good. It's all copyright material. We will not use that. So wipe it. Wipe it. Next one. Blank canvas. Breathe. Take the next one. Let's try this one. Everybody loves the smileys. We have the good. We have the bad one. We have also the ugly one, but again, no, that's religion. We have some blood in there. It's not good for people sometimes. We will not take this one. What about these guys? We take the good, the bad, and the ugly. And under current circumstances, everybody is at home trying to do some stuff. I think we get the FDA approval for this guy. So whenever you see these guys, we will use them to reflect, this is a good thing. This is probably not such a good thing in the general perception. Now, let's move on with these three guys and see how they're doing. Now, first link I want to point you to, and that is the official Microsoft Learning page. And there is a lot of stuff that you can see here. You browse the Microsoft certification, you can filter the exams by technology, you can even go down to the server, but oops, there we only have one server version, which is Server 2016. The older versions are gone. The Server 19, although we have 2020 by now, is still not there. There's still some other priorities within Microsoft. I think it is a good thing. Let's look at the page itself. Where is my most beloved browser? Let's go to the Microsoft Certification Exam List. So that is the web page behind the link that I showed you in my presentation. And you can see there are a lot of things. Please pay special attention to these dates that we have here. So I want to zoom in a little bit that you see it a little bit more clearly. Retiring August 31st, 2020. That is the AZ-103, also known as the Microsoft Azure Administrator. Which is an associate level. We'll talk about that a little bit. That has already the replacement announced. It's currently into beta. AZ-104, again, Azure Administrator, and is already released, is in beta state and stuff like that. So talking about the beta state, there is no fixed time when they say this is just the time, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, beta state done. Microsoft is looking how many people have taken this beta test and is challenging the results of these tests, whether they want to go and make this out of beta into the final version. So whenever you take a beta test, you have to wait until the test is out of this state to get your results. You do not get a result until the test is out of beta. Just wanted to mention that. Then if you pick one of the entries here, let's do that. Let's quickly just pick the 104. You see a lot of information, especially at the moment, COVID-19. There is some stuff going on about the dates and the money and stuff like that. Give yourself a chance to read through that. Let me zoom into this to make it a little bit more readable. First thing is the general description that you see. Then you have immediately the chance to schedule the exam, and we will talk about this later throughout this session. But what I want to point out a little bit more is the skills measured and the percentage and stuff like that. This is where you should point your attention to, and maybe you want to even download the skills outline, but let's continue with the slide deck to see what we have here. And in the meantime, feel free to just shoot in some questions in the chat window. Just interrupt me and I will try to catch them. And I would ask the track owner to just point me if there's some urgent chat questions in here. But just feel free to interrupt anytime. Okay, having said that, I want to introduce you to something that you may have heard of, or maybe this is completely new. We're talking about so-called role-based certifications. And I did bluntly steal this picture, and I have the copyright down here. There's some pictures that I did take, so try to keep all the copyright remarks in there. So the role-based certifications, in contradiction to the technology-based certifications. Technology-based would be you're educated and tested and certified on one product, for example, on Server 2016. The role-based certification goes much further, and they're explicitly aiming for roles. When you see roles, you could put an analogy to, for example, a job description, and that is where it's all started, because Microsoft and many other companies, by the way, have done the so-called job task analysis, JTA. This analysis goes across all the job descriptions that the companies are putting on, for example, portals like LinkedIn or you name it, Monster, web pages, etc. And they're checking the descriptions of the jobs, what the companies are looking for, and they're incorporating it over time slowly in the role-based certifications. And that approach has become pretty much an industry standard. And there are different levels from fundamentals through associate, through experts that Microsoft has established, and they go by now far more than a job description, because a job description could be just a slither of something bigger, like the data analyst. Some data analysts are just doing the getting the data and putting them into some database or into some format that can be analyzed later on. But you will see that the data analyst role that is certified goes a little bit wider, goes a little bit broader. So role-based certification is the next big thing that is around for, I think it's 2 years plus now. If you have not had a chance to go into that, just give it a chance. Now, let's talk about this, whether that is really a good, a bad, or ugly, and the certification per se. And I've just put some of the badges that you can earn and show on your LinkedIn profile or your other personal profile, social profile. So the good thing is these Microsoft certifications, they are a recognized name. So any HR person in the world has a chance that they know about these certifications and how much effort you need to put into it to get it done. They prove some kind of competency in the area, definitely. And they also prove that the one that has achieved this certification is willing to invest time into learning and work on its own his skill set, and is current in technology, maybe even in new technology where there is not many people around that have this knowledge in this, like the AI, for example. It has pretty much become a standard, but it comes with a cost, definitely with a cost, and especially the cost. It could be a bad or a good thing. The good thing is many others have this certification things too, but they charge a lot of money. We're talking about several hundred, several thousands to just get one of the certifications. Now, on the bad side, when it comes to the cost, one of these badges does not just come with sitting in an exam. You have to sit a lot of training sessions. You have to even pass other certifications to be eligible to get this 3-star expert level. So it sums up. There is a lot of certification levels that you need to go through, and so the cost will accumulate. Well, we also see, you see this expert level, which is at the moment the highest level that you can achieve with Microsoft certifications. There's the associate level, there's the fundamental, but we all know there's the normal user. There's a normal user doing some stuff in Azure, doing some stuff in Office 365 and so on. So this kind of certification or qualification thing, that's not there. So we have no user level exams. And also some of the exam things are based on multiple choice. And, you know, multiple choice is a good thing. It's a bad thing. You can learn it by heart. Some of the stuff can even just be guessed. And so what is the value of this kind of certification? If you can just guess your way through and by the end you get the badge and yay, everybody is happy. It's not really a proof of competency. It's more a proof that you can guess good. It's just the one of the opinions. So
we have a question.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Yeah, so is the price of red certification exam same as new certificate exam?
I think I didn't get that. Can you please repeat?
Is the price of red certification exam is same as a new certificate exam?
There is no recertification thing at the moment. We only have one certification, and that's one price. So that what can happen is that we have a version of that certificate, like we just seen with the 103 and the 104. There is no recertification that Microsoft is offering at the moment. So the price is always the same. So thank you for that question. So let's now assume, and I know assume is a bad word, but let's assume you have made up your mind. You want to go for one specific certification. Maybe work with this example, the Azure Administrator, which would be the associate level. So what's next? What do you need to do? The proven way is, hey, you need to understand what the learning objectives are. And I pointed you to this stuff on the web page. Let's go back to this one here, the skills measured, okay? So you need to understand what is behind that. After you have understood, then it's time for study, 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 study. Is that good? Is it bad? I'm afraid many people think that is bad because you really have to invest and stay focused. And on top of that, it is not just reading, it is practicing. It is really doing the stuff. And it's not like our good old friend here staring at the screen. No, you really have to go through this. You have to go through the skills measured and see that you have to expect a certain percentage. And yes, I'm well aware that these percentages do not add up. So it could be that you get between 15 and 20% out of the one topic, or 30 to 35% out of the other topic. But if it comes to how to place your effort, would be, I would personally put my effort on the configure and manage virtual networking, because that is a big block with a good third of the questions to come, as well as deploy and manage Azure Compute resources, also a good chance of a third of the questions being out of this. And before somebody in the chat starts, how many questions will I get? You will get in average something around 50 questions. It could be less, it could be more. And everybody who is taking a certification test, and just to make that clear, and I think we are recording, therefore I put it in words. Once you go through this certification test and you confirm with check marks and signing with blood and stuff like that, you are signing a non-disclosure agreement, a so-called NDA. This NDA is binding you to not disclose any of the questions or the answering options to anybody else, even if that other person has taken the same test. Please take that seriously. There are people out there who are watching closely. And the reason is, if everybody would just brag around the questions and shout the answers into the world, the quality of that certification would go away, because everybody could just pick this information, learn them by heart, and just take it away without even having a good fundamental or structured knowledge about this. So please be reminded, there is a non-disclosure agreement, NDA. Don't speak about your questions that you had in the test. Be happy when you pass it, and that's just the crucial point here. But the bad thing is you have to understand it. You have to invest time and do practice. I've been asked very often, hey, I bought this official Microsoft Learning book, and if I learn this book by heart, will I be able to pass the certification test? My answer is maybe. Maybe it brings you close to the passing grade, which is 700 points out of 1,000 points. And it's not in percentage, because each of the question gives you a different number of points. And no, it will not stop once you have achieved enough points to pass. It will give you all of the questions, and at the very end it will be measured, and then you will get the results, because you could go over the 700 grade, which is an average to pass through. Okay, one of the good things is there is help available help and that is a very good one, to do some self-assessment tools. I pointed you, and let's go back to the other one here, to the skills measured bit, with this example, AZ104. And there is an MVP out there, Chris Beachman, who is owning the build59.com web page. He's an MVP, and together with Dan Patrick, they put together some Excel sheets that are free, available for download, and you can do a self-assessment. They have broken this down into how much do you know about this? How confident are you in that area? And it's not just these 5 sections here. They have broken it down into real granular, out of the official skill metrics. And then you can do your self-assessment and find your areas where you need more knowledge, where you need to study harder to be able to answer all questions around that one topic. Highly recommend it, and big shout to the guys here, Chris and Dan, great job. And take a chance to pick your assessment and go do that assessment. And another tip, if you have done your first assessment, do the study, do the learning, and then do a reassessment and see how you go from first version to next version and stuff like that. Really is helpful to see your own progress, how your confidence grows once you study and not only read but do stuff in the portal, for example. Now, next thing is allocating time. Allocating time is such a personal thing, and therefore our 3 guys up there, yes, we need them, but I'm not sure whether that's a good, a bad, or ugly, because some people are able to just allocate whole weeks, block themselves out, and do the studying, like suck it all in, and then at the end of the week or 2 weeks or how much time they ever need, go to the test and be successful. Work time sometimes works different, so some people are just able to slot away specific learning days, 1 day a week, maybe even on the weekend, maybe in alignment with your employer, 1 day throughout the working days. But that's up to the ones that are challenging themselves with the certification test. And the last bit that's very common, reserve some daily learning time, an hour, maybe 2, depends on your personal situation. But these are the approaches, and then plan it and act on it, execute on your own assessment here. Yes, we all know there are good and bad things happening and the priorities shift, but try to go back to your schedule. And the best thing I can advise, stay focused. Just don't lose your focus. What's helping me personally, and it's just my way to doing it, I sign up for the test and I put a date in my calendar. Say, this end of May, I want to pass this certification test. And I'm one of these, I want to crush through the learning and then do the certification. So I'm probably not the best of all examples in a structured learning, but that works for me. You have to find your own way. And as I said before, stay focused. Stay focused helps you to achieve your goal. That's my advice. And whether it's good or bad or ugly, you define. Next bit would be, I told you, practice, practice, practice. And I can repeat this. 10 times. You have to learn how to do stuff. And some people say, oh, that's ugly. Why do I need to learn? Grow a bone, man. This is a certification. This is something where you want to shine and rise and stand up and out above others that are not willing to invest or not able to invest. I cannot focus on these topics. So this practicing part, it's some kind of, sometimes I call it, you have to train your muscle brain. Your fingers need to know what to type. Your mouse needs to fly around in the portals, like how do I do an Azure Active Directory stuff? How do I create virtual machines in the portal? Maybe with the Cloud Shell or the other shells, or even with Azure Resource Manager templates, ARM templates, in Visual Studio Code, or any other of the portals like Teams, etc., etc. So beside studying, learning the material, the written stuff, you need to get your fingers dirty and do stuff in the portal. That is the additional bit that has the chance to lift you over this passing grade of 700 points in the in the most of all cases. So reading, doing, repeating, and that's the principle here. You try some stuff, you may fail. You try it again. You may fail again until you master that one step, and take this success home. And then you do the reassess again. Go to the assessment thing. And again, some people say, that's exactly my way. I find this is the best approach. Some people say, oh, you know what, there's a lot of time going in this try, fail, try again. These people may say, oh, this is bad. I don't like it. It's ugly. Make up your mind. But I myself, I learn a lot through the mistakes, through the errors that happen, through the dialog boxes that I cannot fill, or a PowerShell script that tells me, oh, I'm missing X, Y, Z here. Why don't you give me this parameter value? And I say, oh, wait a moment. Why didn't I see that before? So this is this fail bit that then makes this one moment stick in my brain, that I can go to the next level and make my script successfully deploy a virtual machine, for example. But as I said, it's up to you. You can take a ready script and just roll it out, and you know how to roll it. But if that script fails, are you really bulletproof to fix that script, to bring it to success? Just challenge yourself with this question and answer it for yourself. Now, I may have talked roughly half an hour now, but that was just the easy part. That was just the easy part, because it's all written down. This is all material that can be found. There's a lot of stuff in there. You still have to do the certification, right? So let's talk about that bit. And now we are in the details, and you saw on this web page here, there's this schedule exam button, this one here. This schedule exam bit is what we're talking about. If you have not already, you do need a Microsoft account, so-called MSA or Hotmail or Outlook.com, whatever you call it, but you need to have this identity. This gives you access to the certification, and later on also to your personalized certification page, where you can look up your stuff and so on. So that is a must-have. Otherwise, you will not be able to sign up for this. On top of that, if you have not done before, and this button is guiding you through this process, you are registering with the testing provider. And this testing provider is called Pearson VUE. They have looped it into that, but just want to point you to this. You have to have both of the registrations successfully achieved. Now, to do this successful, you need these two underlined requirements. You need picture IDs. Picture IDs to prove that you are the person that is registering here. And of course, there is some payment involved. You saw the amount for the certification test that I've chosen as the example here. And if you do not have a credit card or you do not have a picture ID because of whatever reason, you will have difficulties and you need to find some way around that. Now, having passed this quality gate, that's up to you now to decide on the date and the time. And on the next level, it is whether you want to take the test in a testing center or take it remote, online, at home, in an office, in a room that is available. And this is very interesting because the remote testing has boomed, of course, because of these ugly guys on the top right bit. And it is at the moment a little bit difficult to get a slot that is convenient for everybody. Just make sure that you're picking a slot that you're able to make and when you're awake and stuff like that. Some people have even chosen in the middle of the night slots to be able to get this rolled very quickly. Another recommendation is create a learning group or be part of a learning group that has the same focus. In real life, meet people, maybe not such a good idea at the moment, but it could be online. Find the group on Facebook, on LinkedIn, or any other social media. Join these learning groups and maybe challenge yourself with questions or with tasks, or, hey, I struggled here, couldn't solve that. Can please somebody give me a pointer? But if you ask for pointers, please be so kind, tell the others what you tried. Not, I'm falling into this kind of error, please fix it for me. That is not a way to approach a community or learning group. The others would like to see what you have tried so far to have a learning experience out of that already. Also, there are official study guides and private study guides that are not violating the NDA that I mentioned before. And for your convenience, I've highlighted one of these down there in the links, and you can have all the links through the PowerPoint presentation, of course. So I'm going to give this presentation to for you to download and just use these guides here. And also consider study material. There is study material, Microsoft, but these are the Microsoft docs, of course, and I can show you this quickly. Let's go into this. Where are my docs? Where are my docs? Technical documentation. So this would be the Microsoft docs. Just go into your finding machine, docs.microsoft.com, just your browser, and then you see all this area from Windows through Azure, Visual Studio, and stuff like that. Or you can just deep dive immediately into the Azure bit. And this learning path element here, that is the session that the colleague at 3 p.m. will talk about later on. So I will not dive into this bit here. Now, going back to the slides, and there's other stuff, and I have a list of links for you. And as I mentioned before, after going through this material and having studied and having done the practicing bit, do the self-assessment again and get confident. Get confident in what you're doing and solving issues. Also challenge yourself in the learning group. Try to tackle the issues that the others are presenting. You may be too shy at the moment to come up with a solution suggestion, but try to figure it out for yourself. And over time, you're getting more and more confident, and you see a solution, and then you maybe are able to say, yeah, I know the answer. This is how it worked for me. And so also there are some assessment tests around, again, official assessment tests, and that give you the chance to go through the procedure of tests, to see the questions, how they are really asking the stuff, and there are more slides to come about this quality of the questions. Most of the assessment tests, some are free, but most of them are coming with a little bit of a price here, and it's up to you to decide whether you want to invest into your career with this money that you're paying for that. Having said that, this is the link, and I find it's a good assembly of lists, assembly of links here. So we have the Docs Microsoft. You have seen that before. The Learn Azure was the second one. And don't be puzzled by this one, 7534 link. It's just that they kept the link, and I show you what we're having behind that. You find the AZ300, Azure Architecture Technologies exam prep from Scott Duffy, one of the Udemy trainers. He's also very active on Facebook. AZ301 would be the second course to go through all this stuff towards the Azure Architect, the expert level with the 3 stars. Others to mention would be WizLabs, Pluralsight, PactPub, or even Skylines Academy. As I mentioned before, some of them are coming with a price. It's up to you to decide. I'm just pointing you to additional help beside the Microsoft documentation. And as I said, most of the people I spoke with are very happy with the quality that is behind there, but it's up to you to decide whether it is good or not good. These ones here have a good reputation, so to say. The certification test itself. We have the 2 tracks here at the test center and the remote testing here. The test center, that's quite easy. After you have gone through all this, select time, select location, and said you want to do it in the test center. Suggestion is be ahead of the time, be traffic aware, come rested would be also good advice. Some people are coming in very hasty. Don't forget your documents. Don't forget your ID documents. You don't have to. You cannot pay on site. You pay before, but the IDs need to be seen, that you can prove that you're really the person who signed up for this test. And after that, what I like very much is just follow the instructions of the on-site staff, and they will guide you through the process and just tell you, okay, leave your watch and your whatever you have with you in this personal locker, and you're not allowed to take anything for writing, taking notes, phone, stuff like that into the actual testing room. Just be aware of that. And once you're sitting at the place where you're taking the test, it's pretty much follow the instructions, be time aware. There is a time, there's a clock on that certification test. There may be others in the same room with you, so I kindly ask you just to be quiet while you're taking the test and just do your celebration, your Cheerios, your whatever when you're outside. For the remote testing, you want to prepare your testing place, and I didn't want to repeat one very good write-up from Thomas Mara, who I happen to know personally. He did write down how to take a test at home, the online test thing. You need to prepare your testing place. They are proctored, means that somebody is having access to your camera. They can look into your room, and they don't want to see any documents, any papers, any books, or anything writable, different additional screens beside the one screen that you have on your desk and stuff like that. You want to check in ahead of the time. Also, you're waiting for somebody who will be the greeter, and then check the environment again with you. You have to follow their instructions. I had situations where I was asked to show my glasses into the camera, that they see that there's no camera attached to that. They wanted to see my watch, whether that is a smart watch that can record audio or can do a picture. They also ask you to have your ID documents and mobile device in reach, first of all, to verify that you are the person, but also if the session breaks, that there is a chance to call them and make sure that your session is continuing. And once you're in that meeting, in that certification test, it is like a meeting, then you can just follow the instructions, but be aware the camera is on and the microphone is on. Means nobody is allowed to walk into that room. You're not allowed to speak. You're not allowed to mumble away, keep the fingers in front of your mouth and just murmur. Some people have the habit of talking to themselves while they read the screen. It's okay. It's absolutely okay. But not while you're taking a certification test. So please be aware of that. That could trigger their reactions, and they will ask you to stop that or ask you who are you talking to, stuff like that. And I myself have a very wide screen, and they even stopped me one time in a test because I was pointing the mouse to the lower right corner, where is the button for the click next question, and they were seeing that I was looking down very often to the lower right, very often lower right. So I was stopped in the middle of the certification test, and they asked me, what are you doing? Why are you looking there? So I swiveled around my camera, which happened to be a USB connected, and I showed them the screen, and on the top left is the writing of the question, and in the lower right is the next button. Luckily, that it was some while ago, by now you can just control zoom into the text, and then the writing becomes bigger, and you're not so far away from the area where to read to where to click. Now, okay, I hear you. I just want to pointed you to several things. Now I go into the test, okay? What do you have to expect in the test? And the normal things are you have multiple choice, radio buttons, check marks, but be aware, just read accurately. Sometimes they tell you choose the 2 correct answers or select all correct answers, select NYZ and stuff like that. Just read carefully. There are drop downs where in a kind of text you have to drop down, and then you see 1, 2, 3, n answering options, and you just, like in a normal screen, select the answer, and then you are able to proceed with the next question. There is some drag and drop thing where you have a source code or a PowerShell script or stuff like that. You just have an area where you have on the left bit the possible answers. They're movable. You just take your mouse and drag and drop the answer text blocks into the script or source code or whatever you have there. There's even sometimes a text where you have fill the blanks, but that is not so common anymore. What I like very much is select multiple entries from a list of actions and bring them into the right order. By the way, that was a very sarcastic comment by mine. So you imagine you have 5, 6, 8, 10 activities on one side of the screen. And the question is, oh, you want to do this and this and this. Take all the necessary actions. Maybe sometimes they tell you how many actions, and put them on the other side of the screen and bring them in the right order. Could be 3, could be 4. Normally they tell you, but yeah, you will see. And then you just drag and drop and rearrange until you're confident that this list of actions is the right thing to achieve that task in question. Be aware there are sections of questions, blocks of questions, and they will tell you during the certification test, this is covering XYZ scenario, and you get n questions in that block. And once you finish that block, you cannot go back. Even at the end of the block, they tell you, if you click next, this is it. You cannot go back to that block. Okay. One kind of block would be, they give you a scenario, and then they give you an answer, and they ask you, the answer that we're giving here, is that solving the issue? And then you just decide yes and no. And then you move forward. And they give you a similar scenario, but a different answer. And they ask you again, is this the right answer? And then you have to decide yes and no. Very tricky because you cannot go back. Especially if you learn over time, oh shoot, I could have done, sorry for my English, you could have done X, Y, Z, and then you want to go back to question number 1 and say, I missed that. Last but not least, latest kit on the block is the so-called performance-based testing, which actually is a VM. They start a virtual machine for you. The virtual machine is hooked up to a special tenant, and you get the username and password to log into the Azure portal, and then you get tasks in a certain number that you need to do. My advice is the practice bit before that we mentioned. Practice, practice, practice. If you have practiced a lot, this will not be very challenging because this is just stuff you normally do. I do see sometimes the questions where, is this certification test, does this have performance-based testing? Yes and no. I don't care personally, because in real life, I wouldn't care if I need to go and open the portal and do some stuff, because that is my job to do. So if there is performance-based testing or not, it's just normal life. And Microsoft is not disclosing which has or which has not. Just assume you will have it. If you don't like it, be happy if you don't get it. If you get it, just do the tasks that are asked and proceed with that. Now, my last advice before we go into the Q&A bit is try to be efficient in the answering. What do I mean with that? And I think that's a good one. So normally you have one question and you have that on the top, you have the info. This is question number XYZ of this amount of questions, la, la, la. But this question is structured in a certain way. And so far the advice has gotten quite good feedback. Let's dissect one of the questions here. So you have the scenario information to give you a little bit of context. You even have sometimes several tabs like this one here. You get the context, you get additional context, la, la, la. A lot of text, a lot of stuff to inhale and understand and consume at all. Now, then there is this other area on the screen where this is a lot of information regarding the question. And then there's another area of the screen where it just says the actual question. It could be at the end of the paragraphs where it says, please answer this. And then you have below that the text of the answers 1, 2, 3 in either of the qualities, radio button, check marks, whatever, all of the above. Now, that could be a lot to inhale if you go with every question, go through all of it. My advice to my students, and I'm giving this for more than 20 years now, is why don't you go ahead and read the answers first? Read what they expect you to be one of the right ones. Why I'm saying so? If you go through all the scenario and you see the challenge and stuff like that, in your head, you may build up the solution. I know the answer. And then you come to the answers and my answer is not among the answers that they have. So you start rehearsing what you have done before and you're losing time. You're just losing time. So my approach is read the answers and then you read the actual question. Maybe at that point in time, you are already able to answer that. Could be, but sometimes you're not. So you go back one level where you just take the information that are above the question, the actual questions, the sentence with the question mark, right? So you inhale the additional information that are written above the question. Sometimes that is enough to know which of the answers down there is the right one, and then you can quickly proceed without wasting your time reading through all the scenario information. But not, even if the step number 3 has not brought you to the light of, wow, I know it now, if you now start reading the scenario information, your mind is focused. Your mind is focused on the answers. You know exactly what they're looking for, and then you're hopefully able to go through the text more quickly because of maybe it's a business requirement, maybe it's a technical requirement, maybe it's a security requirement that they're aiming for, and then you can quickly narrow down in what area of the context you need to read to find that nugget that gives you the chance to flip the coin to one or the other side. Now that is a very successful way of going through the questions and hopefully find the right answers. Having said that, just don't panic. Time is an element in here, but please don't panic. Even if you're running out of time, don't skip questions. If you are in the last minute or 2 of your test and you see the clock ticking, just shoot blindly. Just shoot blindly just to make sure that you have one or the other point that you're just getting it. Maybe just one question that brings you over the hurdle of 700 points in your certification test. With that, I wish you good luck with your next certification test. Thank you for all, and I think it's a good time for Q&A now.
So we have one question, and I think you answered for one bit that we cannot have a second screen during the exam. But
no, we cannot have a second screen. You have one screen. Just to give you an example, I have my laptop and I have an extended, I have a second screen attached to that. And although I have that as the main screen, they asked me to shut down the lid of the laptop, which could be tricky if you have not paid attention to the power options of your laptop, because very often if you shut the laptop, they go into the sleep or suspend mode. You want to make sure if you take it on the laptop that this is not happening.
Yeah, so you can have a screen, but only one.
Yeah.
And what about touch screen? So like some laptops have a touch screen. Can you use this one?
Yes, you can. Yes, you can. There is no objection against that. But so far, they have not really nailed it down to only touch questions. So they go to the smallest amount of technical capabilities, that is mouse and keyboard. Not every person out in the world has a touch screen, so that is not, but it works. It works. I've done it, but I've not used it actively in a test. Mouse and keyboard works for me.
So if I have 2 screens attached to my computer, should I disconnect one? It's Dragon's asking.
It depends on your personal reading capabilities. I prefer the large screen, and that means that I have the second screen attached, and I just blank out the second screen, have the power options to do not go to any safe state or whatever, and just close the lid. Right, and when the proctor of the scenario, of the test is asking me to put that laptop away, I have to tell them, okay, if I have to put that away, then we're canceling the session because that is the machine that I'm using to talk to you, and they normally give in. It's a clean desk. I mentioned this walkthrough that Thomas Maurer mentioned, and let's bring up this. Where is Thomas? Where did I bring? No. This is the one link that I did not open. Okay. Nope. Let's go back to this link. This one. Bigger. And so I suggest that people consider the stuff that Thomas has written down here. After scheduling the exam, you just choose this at my home or office, and take the time, and there is a little bit of software that needs to be downloaded to your machine to check there's no background process like Teams or even a dual screen thing, stuff like that. So you want to make sure that there is no other software running in the background. You even confirm that to them, and the system pre-check. You should do that system pre-check maybe even on the day before or on that day before you actually go into the session. There's some hardware requirements, software requirements, but your work environment, make it a clean desk. Make it a clean desk. Thomas wrote down here that he's doing it in his kitchen because there is no bookshelf in the background, there is no documents and stuff like that. I once was even asked to physically unplug the electricity of the printer that was close to my desk. So this kind of things, don't get angry with them when they ask you this kind of questions. They're just doing their job. Just try to be patient, even if it's ridiculous. I was once time asked, oh, there's a basket, a paper basket underneath your desk. Please remove that. Stuff like that. Sometimes it's ridiculous for you, but there are people out there who try to actively cheat with this in this way. And if you would help in your way to just, make it nice.